Hey guys, welcome back to Gulfside Baitworks. Today I was thinking I would do just talk about some colors here. I picked out 10 colors that I use all the time as colors that I like having at the shop. Um, kind of a beginner type thing. What's good to have. Um, and of course, every person is going to have different things they really like making, so yours might not be the same as mine. And realistically, you could just say, oh, well, I want a green, or sorry, I want a red, a blue, and a yellow. Your three primary colors. And I should, in theory, be able to mix anything from that. And you could, but if you're just using those three basic colors, well, if you wanted to get a more complex color, you're going to be adding a lot of pigment and you're going to end up opaquing things out. And if you like your baits opaque, that's fine. I don't. So for me, normally my colors are going to be, a little bit more, not just red, green, blue, not primary, tertiary, all that. So let's look at the colors that I got as for my colors that I pull down a lot. So colors that for me are required to have. So first off, we'll start out with avocado, which I mentioned in the last video. I said it was required reading, and it really is. This color is super useful. If you go back through my videos, you will see that I use this all the time. It's one of the few things that I've gone through a whole bottle of pigment with before. So yeah, I use this a lot. And what's really cool about it is you can actually use just a tiny bit of it and get a chartreuse color. In fact, the very first baits I ever made, I used avocado, and I had only used like 5 drops because I was new and I didn't want to overdo it. And I did avocado with some black flake in it, and they looked just like chartreuse pepper baits. And I was like, isn't this supposed to be green? But of course, as I learned. So with this, you're able to get a chartreuse with just a little bit of it, a nice watermelon color, or if you go heavy with it, you can get all the way up to a green pumpkin. Now, if you want your green pumpkin a little more brown, you might have to add some brown, but you can do a whole lot with avocado, and that's 115 Lure Works. That is most definitely required for me. So that's my first one. Now next, we got Snow Shine. This is probably one of the best liquid pigment belly colors there are, period. I usually don't use a ton of it, so I get a nice clear belly with some silver, which you can kind of see in the top there, that silver shine. But at the same time, if you go heavy with this, you can actually make a opaque white shiny bait. I learned that from swamp trout. So yeah, there's and that's just one that I just use it all the time. It's great. And it's something that's pretty universal. Almost any bait you make, you could probably add some silver shine to. So yeah, that one for me is pretty universal. Another universal one I grabbed is Lure Works Black. The Lure Works Black is a lot thinner than other companies' blacks. And because of that, you can dial things in better with it. If you are using color shifts, you gotta get you some Lure Works Black. It is what Bait Chuckin' suggests for his 8-bit bait products. And it looks great with DOP's color shifts. It looks great with everybody's color shifts. So this one is most definitely something you're definitely going to want. So now another one that's fairly not super advanced here is Black Grape 203. For me, I switched through a bunch of different purples. In fact, I'm getting it all over my hands. But I probably have like 10 different purples up there. But once I finally tried this one, which I had heard Chris Jones say a bunch of times to use for Junebug, and finally I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna try it. It's really the best. It's great for Junebug. It's great for just making a purple worm. If you want to go lighter, sure, there are lots of other purples out there. But I find I use this one a lot. It's super useful. So definitely the Black Grape Lure Works, definitely worth doing. So now my other ones up here that I pulled down is my ones I use all the time. Might be a little bit more niche. than those four. But first off, let's look at Chartreuse Dye 107, a color that I pull down all the time. Why do I pull it down all the time? Well, for a couple of reasons. One, if I want to make straight chartreuse baits, you could put half this bottle in a cup and it would still be clear. This is the clearest chartreuse pigment that I have ever used, and it's incredible. But it bleeds because it is a dye. So I'm not going to be using this if I'm using a if I'm doing two colors. I'll use a different yellow, but I will also use this a lot of times when I'm trying to mix a new color or change a color, because dyes do well mixing in other things. So I end up using this. I used it, I think I put some in the last video, in a green, but, or no, I think I put it in orange. I put it in orange in the last video. But yeah, so definitely Chartreuse Dye 107, without a doubt, worth getting. Now, if you want one that doesn't bleed, that you can use as like a belly color, I like DOP's chartreuse. Great color. So that's what I go with for that. Now we're getting to stuff that's a little less use. Now, I personally use pink a lot because I make saltwater baits. So for me, I end up using Neo Bright Red all the time. Now, unfortunately, I don't think they make this anymore because it's not listed. Last time I looked on DOP's website, it was not listed. So I definitely, once I'm out of this, I'm going to have to find something to replace it. But if you can get your hands on this, this is the best pink color there is that I know of. So definitely a big fan of that. I know that DOP also will get rid of a color and bring it back later, so hopefully we'll get it again, and then maybe I can buy it in a big bottle, because I think they only sell it in this and in gallons, and I don't know, gallon might be a little much, but anyway, yeah, so that's my next one there, Neo Bright Red. And you know, another thing too, all of these DOPs that say Neo are, you put them under a black light and they light up. Same thing with this chartreuse color. I haven't tested the avocado. I'm not sure if it does. Weird thing though. My next one that I'm going to pull out, Blue Craw, turns orange under a neon light. Or under a black light. I don't know why. But it does, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so back to this one. If you're making saltwater baits or you're making anything that you need pink in, Neo Bright Red is a fantastic choice. You know, and you really... I mean, if you use pink a lot, you really got to try a whole bunch of them. I remember when Chris Jones did his Dawn video, he said before he started making baits, he didn't ever know he'd need 10 separate pinks. And I really, that hit home for me because I end up with, I've got tons of pinks up here. But yeah, so if you're making saltwater, or if you, I don't know, sometimes some people up north use brighter colors. Yeah, that one's definitely worth it. So now, another one that is fantastic, one of the first colors I ever purchased, the first thing I ever got from MF, this is Pacific Sand. It is a tiny bit darker than something like Lureworks Carolina Pumpkin, but if you can't get a hold of this, Carolina Pumpkin will work as well, but I find that this makes a really nice backer color for baits when I want to go to fish on the beach, because it's a real light tan color, almost like a sand color. Obviously, it's called Pacific Sand, duh. But the other thing too is you can also use this if you want to brown something up, but just a little bit. So, yeah, Pacific Sand, definitely worth checking out. If you don't get a lot of MF stuff, or you know, MF things are getting harder to find, Scuppernong by Lureworks isn't a bad option as well, though it is a bit darker than this. And of course that Lureworks Carolina Pumpkin as well. But I really like, my favorite of that kind of type is Pacific Sand from MF. Now, a couple more interesting. Now these last three are all color shifting ones that for me, I use them a lot, and that's why I pulled them down for my 10 things that you definitely want to have, 10 colors you definitely want to have in your shop. First one, Blue Craw. This is probably the greatest color that DOP developed. It's incredible. I caught my PB on this color. I love this color. I use it all the time for so many things. Most of the time, if I do a bait trade, they're probably going to get one of my Blue Craw Gold Shads, which is Blue Craw on the top and gold highlight under it. And I've actually gone to add, and I used to use, what's they called? I actually put a little bit of Blue Flake in it, but now I use Serena by Siren Scales from 8-Bit Baits in the top, and it's perfect. So, yeah, that Blue Craw, it's a color shift that shifts from blue to brown. You do got to play around and make sure you find the right consistency. Like 35 drops a cup works really well with it. Definitely awesome. Now, the Kiwis is another one I really love. But when I first got this, I had some problems figuring out how to get this to do what I wanted. This is a brown to green shift, and the green is very similar to avocado. But you can't be too shy with it. You want to start at like 40 drops. Anything less than that, and you just kind of end up with green. You don't get the brown coming in until you go darker, but that is one that I use a lot. I really like Kiwis. I use this as a back on my I do a my rainbow trout color. The back is Kiwis. But yeah, Kiwis, awesome, love it. Now, of course, my last one for I grabbed 10. My last one, of course, is probably the greatest color that's ever existed, in my opinion. The reason that I got into bait making was to make baits in this color. Because when I was a kid, we used them a lot, and you really couldn't get them on. I just didn't see any colors in stores. And what color is that? That is the MF changeable motor oil. This one is just, it's the best. There are a lot of motor oils. This one to me just always looks awesome. Yeah, so now, of course, they have changed the recipe from the original recipe because some of the original colors are no longer available. So if this isn't the red you like, you can add a couple drops of red. I prefer a dye, strawberry dye or cherry red dye, ideally. And those are both Lure Works colors, though I'm sure that MF also has something equivalent. But yeah, so this stuff, my favorite, hands down. You got to go with that one. Now, one thing I will tell you, here's a funny story. One of the first times I ever made baits, I did not shake this bottle. And I found that if you don't shake the bottle, you get purple baits instead of motor oil baits. So make sure you shake the bottle. But yeah, so those are my colors that I picked out for the ones that you just gotta have in the shop. And of course, that's for me. Everybody's different. You may have different things that you gotta have in your shop, but I would definitely suggest trying out every one of these colors if you can, because they are awesome and they are worth your time. And let me know if you like this format. I haven't really done a whole lot of basic videos where I could talk about, like, you know, how to start and stuff like that. So let me know if you're interested in that. But yeah, so let me bring the camera around here and check this stuff out up close. Yeah, so again, we got avocado from Lure Works, Snowshine from Dead On, black from Lure Works, black grape from Lure Works, chartreuse dye from Lure Works, Neo Bright Red from Dead On Plastics, MF Pacific Sand, Blue Craw from Dead On, and Kiwis from Dead On, and of course our motor oil from MF. So yeah, for me, these are definitely the ones that are like required. You got to have them in the shop, and you know, I'd love to hear what you guys think. And you know, if you guys got something that you think is a good substitute for one of these, definitely throw it in the comments. Let me know. I am always up for getting more colors. I have a lot of pigments, and there's more over there, back there. Yeah, I've got a ton of pigments, so I like having a lot of pigments, but these are the ones that I pull down the most often. So yeah, I just wanted to try something different on today's video. I appreciate you watching. If you made it to this point, make sure you like, subscribe, throw me a comment, tell me what you think, share the video if you want to, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks for coming by Gulfside Baitworks.